First fabric haul of the year, and it's a big one. I obviously started 2026 with some big ideas of things that I wanted to make, and I have already actioned multiple of them. Well, actioned buying the fabric and having the materials, not necessarily making them. My favorite fabric shop in London is called Fabrics Galore. It's in Lavender Hill. Everyone there is very sweet. I love their selection. It's not a huge shop. What I do love is that they have lots of bright colors and patterns. Honestly, at some of these fabric shops, they make it look hard. But yeah, just a good selection of like pinks and stripes and gingham. It's a material girl's dream. I'll show you at the end how all of this looks together, but it is like literally my dream stack of fabric. Number one, I have nearly 10 meters of this beautiful pink. It's kind of pink and red, but more like a pink and pink stripe. The goal with this is I'm going to redo the tablescapes for Material Girls Club. These have looked like multiple different things. When I first started, I was using plastic tablecloths. I really liked the color of these and I kept reusing them until they were just like too ripped to continue using. So when I kind of got an idea of where I was going to be doing these things, what tablecloths I needed, I bought a bunch of pink fabric ones. They've done me really well. I've used them at dozens of workshops and they're quite stained now. I've tried to get them dry cleaned and they're just a bit stained beyond repair when you're doing, you know, that kind of crafting work with them, and they just don't look very nice. So at this point I'm at a new Material Girls Club venue and I decided instead of doing tablecloths, I'm going to try to like make some decor on the tables. I got a bunch of pink tulle and some pink glittery candles. Obviously with like the magazine covers and the kind of stickers and stuff like that, the Material Girls vibe is really brought into it, and that's been pretty good. But I feel like something has been missing because I can set up the tables really pretty, but obviously then people get there and they start looking through their magazines, stuff gets taken off the table, stuff gets added to it, and I feel like it's just missing some like Material Girls cohesion that is always there. You see a picture, you know this was taken at Material Girls Club, you know? So I thought, should I try these pink tablecloths again? And then I thought, wait, is this an opportunity to do something even cooler, even more maximalist, put all of those things together that I've been doing? So I went in search of some sort of patterned pink fabric that could be kind of a Material Girls signature. Found this, love it. I also love a little lime green moment. So I found this, and I'm thinking a runner down the center of the table. I was seeing how that will look quite cool. We're also not going to stop there, so I'm just laying this out so you can get the full effect of how genius this is. Okay, tablecloth runner, still pink tulle. I'm going to like swirl it and bunch it on top of the runner. Still put down my little cute candles that I have. People's magazines will be dotted down here. Much more cohesive, so cool, right? So I have a ton of fabric here to do that with. I'm going to serge the edges and just finish them myself. It's just big squares, so I kind of just need a lot of thread to do it. Next Material Girls Club is in just under a month, so I have some time, but I'm really excited to debut this as like the first Material Girls Club in 2026. I think I have enough here for 3 really good sized tablecloths, which should work well for the space we've been working in, and then maybe eventually I can go get some more if it works well. I nearly bought an entire bolt of this fabric. Actually wouldn't let me buy the bolt. Let me know if you know anything about fabric stores more than I do. Why wouldn't they let me buy the whole bolt? I was originally trying to buy like 10 to 15 meters and I was like, whatever's on the bolt, I'll take it. And they were gonna measure it and they were like, oh, we might just have to sell you the bolt. And I was like, okay, fine. Like, I'll take whatever you have. I love it. And then someone who seemed to be like the manager of the store was like, oh, this is actually the only bolt we have. We can't sell the whole thing to you. And I was like, oh, okay. Like, can you just sell me like 1 meter less than whatever's on the bolt? And she was like, that's fine. I still ended up with nearly 10 meters of fabric. I'm happy, but I'm just curious, like, if anyone knows a reason for that, because I would have thought if I want to pay for all this stuff, they would sell it to me. But now on to some clothing pieces that I want to make. This is a stretchy green. I think I might be having a green era right now. I actually do love green. I just don't have much of it in my closet, so this is my effort to change that. I got this, and I also got some black in the same fabric. I want to make a very specific but basic top with these. I need more long sleeve tops for the winter. I don't really have that many, and I also work from home a lot, so I'm thinking I want to do something that is kind of cute but comfy, because I find myself putting on the same stuff every day just to like sit around the house, but I would love if it was, you know, comfy to sit around the house but a little bit cuter. So I want to make stretchy tops that are quite fitted, because I think that makes me feel more like I got ready for the day. I want them to have a slight boat neck to them, just because I think that looks quite nice, especially because these are both plain fabrics. I think, you know, boat neck plus maybe like a necklace or something would look good. And then I want them to be 3/4 length sleeves, not long sleeve, 3/4 length. I'm gonna do a slight flare on the end of the sleeve and a slight flare on the hem of the shirt. So it's quite basic, but it has these little touches. Are you seeing the vision? This cheetah fabric, of course, I had to get. Calling my name. I've never actually made something out of cheetah fabric, even though it's one of my favorite things and I have lots of cheetah clothes. It's just not stuff I've made for myself. So when I saw this in the same stretchy fabric that is in, I thought of this black shirt that I made this summer. I self-drafted this and it is one of my most worn pieces. I find myself wanting to wear it even now, even though it's not weather appropriate, just because it's so comfortable. But again, with like the fittedness, it looks really nice. I'm gonna make the exact same shirt but in cheetah fabric. Done. New staple. Last bits of fabric are this light pink and this off-white that is semi-sheer. It's not really like a sheer fabric, it's just that if you don't put lining in it, it would be quite sheer. These are going to be for the next Material Girls sewing patterns. I've wanted for a while to make a tutorial for a little pleated belt. These almost like mini skirt belts that I've been seeing everywhere. I saw them for the first time in a little shop in Barcelona. I was thinking this would be a really cute DIY, and ever since then I've been seeing them on Pinterest. I've seen people do this where they wear it underneath something like a cardigan, so it almost looks like you're wearing a shirt that has a bit of a flare at the bottom of it. It's not actually a full shirt. Surprise, it's a belt. I've seen people do this with crop tops where you can see clearly that it's a belt. It maybe doesn't even go all the way around your waist, but it's just about adding a little bit of like fluff on your hips. So I have two versions that I want to make. One that's going to be more gathered, layered, tiered skirt, which I think will look nice and flowy with a semi-sheer fabric. And that would be a nice texture to be able to bring into outfits. And then one that is a little more structured and pleated, almost like a little mini tennis skirt, which of course has to be in pink for Material Girls colors. So I'm excited to do both of those. I have enough fabric here that I think even if I mess up a few samples, I should have enough to make my final pieces in these ones, which I think will look nice in the magazine. Then what is even in here? I like forgot all the little bits that I got. This is just a bunch of thread. I'm in the process of kind of rebuilding my thread collection. I had a bunch of thread in the States that was handed down to me. I was like never buying thread, but now every time I get a new fabric, I kind of have to buy a new thread that will match it. More bobbins, gotta have them, especially if I'm upping my thread collection. And then just a bunch of different needles. I'm feeling very inspired. Honestly, I just want to sew when I see all this stuff. Okay, let's do a stack reveal. Come on. Oh my gosh, this is just like my dream color scheme, pattern scheme. I feel like I'm in Material Girl heaven. I feel like it's been a while since I've been this inspired to sew and to go to the store and just find things. Like for example, I didn't expect to get this cheetah print, but I just saw it and I was like, I know exactly what I would do with that. I feel like usually lately I've been in a bit of a rut where when I go to the fabric store, I'm like, okay, I need to make this project. I need this exact thing. I hope they have it. Oh shoot, it's not quite the pattern that I wanted, you know? And this time I went, got all the stuff that I wanted, plus some extra fun projects. I don't really know where I'm going to start. Probably with the shirts because I can pump those out pretty quickly. The belts are gonna be a little bit more involved since I have to like develop a pattern with them. And then maybe just as I have downtime, I'll be finishing off different edges and cutting this big piece, because I bet that will take longer than I expect it to take just because of the size of it. My first big New Year's resolution is to make my way through The Artist's Way. It's a 12-week program that's focused on reconnecting with your creativity. It's pretty intensive. I think she says you're supposed to spend 10 to 15 hours a week if you're really like doing everything that's suggested. So each week you read a chapter from the book and she kind of gives some thoughts on creativity, some nice like questions to ask yourself, affirmations about your creativity, and then there are prompts each week to work through as well. So those might be, yeah, like questions to journal about or things to do. They're all very accessible. I was just reading the first week. There are lots of little things to journal about. There's some different activities. For example, one of the activities is to just go on a 20-minute walk, and she gives reasoning behind all these things and like how it is supposed to help your creativity. But yeah, it's like a very accessible book, which I feel good about. There shouldn't be anything necessarily like intimidating about connecting with your creativity, but you do need to have the discipline and the dedication to put in the hours to really engage with it. There are a few different parts of the program. So every day you're supposed to wake up and write morning pages. This is my morning page notebook. It's one of the like Luke term books. I've never heard someone say the word before, but I got this one because I think it's over like 400 pages long. I knew if I was doing 3 pages a day plus more journaling, I needed a book with a ton of pages in it, and most notebooks are kind of tiny, and I like the idea of it all being in one. So my cute purple notebook. I write morning pages every morning, which is basically 3 pages of stream of consciousness thoughts. You're supposed to start your day just getting everything out of your head. And the idea is that afterwards you'll have some more space in there to have creative thoughts because you're not thinking about like, oh, I have to do this, or shoot, I didn't start the dishwasher last night. Really going with the stream of consciousness, just like, oh, no, I'm thinking about this, I'm thinking about this, like getting those blurts out. I've never really been a journaler before. I can't say that it's something that has ever super intrigued me, so I'm excited to try it out for 12 weeks and see what I think. You also have to go on an artist date every week, which is just when you go out by yourself to get some creative input. So again, that can look like lots of different things. I think I'm probably going to go to some museums of my own, maybe take a book to sketch or write notes. She gives a bunch of different examples, but again, it's very accessible. She was like, one of the things you could do is go to a store and get some stickers. Yeah, it's just about like going out to the world and getting some new creative input to bring into your creative practice. It doesn't have to be anything fancy, so I like the way she talks about that. I'm adding some personal goals to this because I'm just really excited about being in a program and having this be like a thing that I'm doing right now. I'm also going to read a book a week. I usually read a book like every 2 weeks, so this is a little bit fast for my pace, especially when I'm doing reading and writing for this every day as well. We'll see how that works, but I kind of got out of the habit of reading as much as I I usually would like to at the end of 2025. So I really want to kickstart that habit in 2026. And also I see that as kind of a way to have creative input. Right now I'm reading, actually it's right here, The Art of Gathering, How We Meet and Why It Matters. I'm not necessarily choosing books that are directly related to my creative practice. This definitely is though, because I host events. So I'm really curious reading this kind of in conjunction with thinking about creativity and that, and I want to keep choosing books that are, yeah, just like new creative input and getting in the habit of doing that. Also just a fun one, since you have to do check-ins and reflections and reading chapters every week, you kind of have, yeah, one day a week where you're doing more work than others because you're reading the chapter, journaling about how you think the last week went, and doing some of the prompts from the current week. I want to go to different coffee shops to do that, and that's just kind of like a fun way that I want to try new places. On the day-to-day, I'm usually going to the same places, so I think this might be a fun way to explore some London coffee shops. Come along, I'll show you what I do for my artist date this week, share some thoughts about what I think about the first week of the program. So I think I'm gonna do weekly vlogs of this, show what I get up to, and then that also means that if you want to do the artist way as well, you have a buddy you can do it with. Let me know if you've done this before, if you have any tips for, yeah, how to get through it or how to make the most out of it. But I'm very excited. I'm out and about. I'm going to my first artist date. Very exciting. I'm gonna go to this bookstore called Climax that I've been wanting to go for a while. It's a lot of like independent publishing. All the graphics just look super cool. So, I mean, I'm going thinking like I'm going to just get some inspiration. I don't even need to buy anything. It's just about like inspiration. Obviously, I'm probably gonna get stuff because how am I gonna walk into print heaven and not get anything? Tucked away in this like back quiet street in central London. So let's see what it's all about. Okay, I was in there for like less than 5 minutes. It was kind of a flop. It's a really cool concept, but it was like one bookshelf of stuff in there. Like I expected it to be more of a bookstore, and it was also kind of an office. Like there were like a bunch of people sitting at desks working in there, so it wasn't very like good to like roam around. Anyway, I actually didn't get anything. Kind of disappointing because I feel like I didn't really have enough time in there to like get some artistic inspiration, so I think I might go on a bit of a walk. Like I have extra time because I spent like 5 minutes in there and I expected to spend much longer. So I might put on my headphones and like walk around and try to get inspired, like see if there's anywhere else I might want to stop in. One of the best artist dates that the author talks about is just like walking around without like a place to be, like not going on your normal commute, just like trying to walk around and see what you notice. So we're turning that one into this. I've been feeling very inspired about my outfits this week, but the problem is that all of my inspiration is for outfits that are good for the spring and include basically only sheer skirts. And it's January, so I am pumping the heat in my apartment and hanging out. An outfit that I will not be able to wear outside for months. I will say I'm Minnesota built, so once it hits like 45 degrees, I will happily wear a skirt outside. I just know it kind of looks weird when other Londoners are wearing full winter coats. Anyway, I tested it a bit on my artist day. I was wearing my short little skirt, walking around, and I loved it. I was so inspired. The bookstore was a bit of a flop, but I'm actually really glad that my first one ended up being just a little walk around. I was going kind of down this main street, and whenever I saw something that looked interesting, popping to different side streets to explore what businesses were down there, what I saw. I found lots of cool things. I found lots of new restaurants that I might want to try. Found a Marxist library and school that I'd never heard of before that I'm gonna do some research into now. I was in an area of the city that I'm not usually in, so I feel like I was really like taking in new information, figuring out how things were laid out. And I understand why this is such an effective artist date because I was just walking around listening to music. I didn't really have anywhere to go. So I was just like pausing on different street corners and people watching and looking into windows and yeah, like stopping for things that I usually wouldn't. It ended up starting to rain and like I said, I was not really dressed for the weather. So I went into a pub and was reading my book, just sitting there by myself with like a pint, which was also inspiring because I feel like that's not something I would usually do by myself. It's kind of fun to be out in the evening and just like sit in a cozy pub by myself, read a book I've been enjoying. Inspirational all around. So that was my first artist date, and I feel like what I learned from that is I should be making time for more wandering around just in general. She's onto something with the whole get out of your routine and see what you see situation. I feel like I have new places I want to try, things I want to research, and it also just put me in a great mood to be kind of like following my own whims. I'm thinking that's a practice I might want to keep doing throughout these weeks, even if that's not my artist date every week. Now down to business at my computer here. I'm working on a syllabus because one of of the prompts in the first chapter is to think about 5 other lives that you could live and choose one to live for the week. She gives all sorts of fun things like, you know, maybe you're an accountant, but in another life you're a horseback rider. So I was writing mine down and a lot of them had to do with education. I love education. I have an art education degree. Professor was one of mine. I think in another life I would have loved to be a professor. So I decided how I'm gonna live that out this week is make a syllabus for the class that I would teach if I was in a school. So let's see, I have it pulled up here. I haven't decided on a name for the class yet, but obviously it's gonna be about craft politics. So I was going through all the different resources that I found and read. I've sorted them into different sections that would be like units in a class. Obviously wrote down the resources, but I'm in the process of writing down kind of descriptions of what that topic would be, like, or what the unit would be. And I might add little descriptions of each of the resources as well and why I included them. It's mostly books and zines. When I get it all laid out, I'll upload it and put a link down below if you're interested. I mean, if you watch my videos, you've probably seen me talk about all these books, but it's kind of fun to put them all together and think like, I actually have a lot of things that I've learned about this. So the sections we have going on, it starts with a meditation. I always kind of liked on the first day of uni classes when we get kind of a small assignment just to like be a taster and how we're going to discuss things in the class. And I love this essay called Folds, Fragments, Surfaces Towards the Poetics of Cloth by Pina Navarnete. But it has been such a beautiful like part of my art practice and really informed the things that I love to do. So I was rereading that today and just feeling like so re-inspired, and I'm so glad that like this kind of prompted me to revisit that. I think it would be a great way to start a course because it's not really a hard academic piece about craft politics. It's quite poetic. It talks about the things that we can learn from the intimacy of cloth and from touch, and it discusses what the author calls soft logics as opposed to rigid thought, which I think, yeah, if I were to teach a class, I would want to kind of have that as inspiration for how we would be discussing things and bringing ideas to the class. And I think that's so relevant when talking about fiber art, obviously. The other sections that I have going, I'm not sure what order I would put these in yet, but the politics of embodiment is probably the one I would start with. Then I titled the next one Making Media, Doing Feminism, which is a lot about how women have reclaimed different crafts. Fashioning the Future, which is like sustainable fashion, anti-fast fashion, questioning capitalism. Many Hands Make a Quilt, which is from the title of a zine that I really love, and that's gonna be all about community practices and how fiber art brings people together as communities. And then a program of absolute disorder, which is gonna be all about decolonizing mainly museums, which are places where a lot of craft knowledge is stored, and I think really important sites of resistance in craft politics. So that was kind of fun to put on my professor hat today. I'm gonna finish up, writing out some descriptions, but this has been a fun little exercise and definitely, made me revisit resources that I've really loved, and I'm feeling inspired by that. And it's fun to kind of think about, in another little life, these interests that I have, how would I be communicating them with people? This week I've been reading The Art of Gathering, How We Meet and Why It Matters by Priya Parker. This has been on my list for years. I think I first learned about it during the pandemic because she did a big like podcast circuit, and a bunch of the podcasts I listened to had her on, and I was super inspired by the way she was talking about gathering people. For some reason I hadn't picked it up yet, probably because I was still in uni. I wasn't really like gathering people, but this has come at a cool time because I'm an adult now. I have a flat, I host dinner parties. Also in my work, I host craft workshops, so kind of like personally, professionally, gathering people is very important to me. She's a professional facilitator. Obviously she's hosted things like dinner parties and birthday parties. She's also worked around the world hosting gatherings for companies, for UN representatives, like crazy resume on this girl. So she gives a lot of practical tips, but also just like general ways to approach gathering people, how to think through each part of the gathering in a very intentional way. And because she has so many cool experiences, there's also just a lot of great stories that like illustrate what she's talking about. The different meetings and conferences she's been at, the different parties she's been at. She talks about like friends that she has who are gatherers, and that's like a big part of their life. So it's just a lot of like inspiring stories. Like I feel like I'm leaving this with lots of practical tips, but also just feeling very inspired to like have an interesting life. Like she's always talking about like this dinner party I was at 10 years ago with this person was at, and it just makes me very excited to like tap into community and gather people in that intentional of a way. So I would definitely recommend. This is one I'm gonna be very happy to keep on my bookshelf. First book of 2026, gonna log that. This is my first week of The Artist's Way. Very excited with how it went. I feel like I was kind of like getting my footing around all the different activities that you're meant to do, and I'm going into the second week feeling like I can do more with it because I kind of know what's going on. So tune back in, I'll bring you along with what I'm reading, what I'm making, where I go for my little artist dates, what I'm thinking about the journaling aspects and the reading aspects of everything. Thanks for watching, and I hope you have a good day.